I understood the need for greater autonomy for Tobago.
At that time, there were two political parties represented in the Assembly. Mr. Kalenda was on the minority side held by the People's National Movement, but control of the House was with Mr. Robinson and the Democratic Action Congress.
We are the architect of self-government for Tobago, and the Parliament would have decided that Tobago should have its internal self-government in 1977. However, when the legislation was passed in Parliament, and that legislation, as you know, is Act number 37 of 1980, to give effect to the decision of Parliament, it stopped woefully short of giving us international government.
And that has always been our mantra. From 1984 to all our years, internal self-government was foremost in our mind. And that's even why A.N.R. Robinson went to Parliament and debated on internal self-government for all those years. And that is why instead of giving us internal self-government, they gave us this partial management of Tobago, which is more of an administrative kind of a situation.
As a lot of people do not know, we worked for about 5 to 8 months without a salary. The central government in Trinidad didn't care to give Tobago House of Assembly, and so they were not working for harmonious relationship between the Tobago House of Assembly and the central government.
From the year 1980 to present, administrative changes have been made to ensure that the Tobago House of Assembly expands to make responsibility for more of the day-to-day matters on the island.
Well, of course, most of it are administrative changes. First, there was no executive council when it started, because the executive council is usually the government responsible to the legislature.
At that first THA elections, our inauguration took place what is now the High Court. It was then Tobago's Hall of Justice, was on the only court out at Bacalet. So our inauguration took place there, and our plenary sittings took place there. Most of our committee meetings took place at the Fairfield complex. So that's how we operated, and we operated in committee stages. Like, you know, there was a health committee, a roads committee, and all those various committees. All members of the Assembly then, though, operated as members of the Finance and General Purposes Committee.
There was no executive. The executive was the plenary and the Finance and General Purposes Committee. So anybody else who functioned would have functioned in a committee, and these committees, by way of their deliberation and the reports that they bring, these reports are brought to the Assembly in plenary, and it is the discussion and debate on that and the approval of that that you can now implement. Very frustrating, because, as you know, we were no longer a county council. Then we started the restoration of this building that we now occupy. We begin since in 84, and so on. And we went to England, sent people to England to do the research as to how the building was when it housed the first Tobago House of Assembly in the 1760s, 1763, 1769. And then we were able to restore the building to how close to what it used to be, because some of the things we couldn't get. And in 1985, we completed that record timing, 4 years. And Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth, if you notice the plaque next door, would have come and unveiled that plaque to mark the opening of this particular chamber, and then we were able to meet here. It was not easy, because this building at that time was occupied by the library.
The Assembly building has since been through further restoration in 2010, but the building was not the only feature undergoing changes. A lot of effort was made to change the laws that govern the Tobago House of Assembly. This meant getting Parliament to change the Constitution.
I think the most significant one was Robinson motions in 1977. In the Assembly between 80 to 84, there was that motion by Dr. Jeff Davidson. Subsequent to that, after 1995, between 91 and 95, there was an attempt by the Manning administration, while Chairman Denoon was chairman of the Assembly, to grant Tobago greater autonomy. Unfortunately, while efforts were made and legislation were drafted, there was a call for early elections, so that effort fell by the wayside. And then there were again another effort, again led by Robinson, now part of the NAR, that created Act 40 of 1996, which took it a step further. But during that period, during the first period of the Assembly, we operated, to me, as a hybrid of the Tobago County Council, because there was not the positions of chief secretary or secretaries.
We had to set up systems. We did this first by creating what is called an administrative body. And this is the forerunner of the Executive Council. The administrative body was responsible to the legislature at that time. But in 1996, the change had changed, the old act went out and the new act came in, creating an executive council run in which the chief secretary was the chairman. But prior to that, the chairman was responsible both for the legislature and what passed for an executive council.
The chairman of the Tobago House of Assembly was responsible for the executive and the legislature. Since 1996, the positions of chief secretary and presiding officer were created. The chief secretary leads the executive council that manages Tobago's administrative matters, and the presiding officer oversees the legislature. But the chairman was not the only position that changed in 1996.
My office that was put into being by Act Number 27, 1980, was in the Sandy Hall building. So the clerk of the assembly was there, and the clerk then was what we now call the chief administrator. And the secretary office was next to me. The secretary is now what we call the clerk of the assembly. That was the secretary. And in fact, it was Mr. Roach. So all of us were in this small building in County Hall. I am the politician responsible for putting the administration in accordance with the new law. And they were actually one the secretary of the assembly as plenary, and the other one as the chief administrator, head of the public service. Because of that kind of situation, we have to find accommodation, and we have to make it quickly.
The background of politicians may vary. Miriam Caesar Moore started as a nurse. Her desire to help people took an unexpected turn into politics.
People's home was on fire. And as a nurse, everything just kicked in. I ran up to the hospital, I called the fire department, ran up to the hospital. And there we were able to bring out some people, save people from that blaze. I was asked to come on the TV to speak about this matter. They were interviewing me. And I guess A&R Robinson, I don't know if he saw it or what, but I know because of that incident and the fact that I came and helped and was assisting, probably people saw that as someone who can do something, can be of service for Tobago.
Life as an assemblyman had its own challenges.
For us to get anything done for Tobago in our portfolio, we had to actually be like not bullies, but we have to say, if we fought for this, it is ours and we are going to make it happen. So when they withhold, sometimes for months we didn't get pay, as I said, we worked for $2,500 a month, and it took you a while to get it because, again, of the logistics and the bureaucracy. And it is heartening that we did not give up. We kept at it, we stayed with it, and now Tobago is reaping the benefit of the Tobago House of Assembly.
During that term, interestingly, there was a motion moved by Jeff Davidson. I think it started in late 1982.
Authorized official.
Peace and happiness, truth and justice may be enjoyed by all people. Grant this for the sake of Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Oath of allegiance of a new member. Announcements by presiding officer. Assembly bills sent back from cabinet. Assembly laws brought back from Parliament. Petitions, papers.
Secretary of Finance and the Economy.
Great. Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer. I have the privilege of tabling the following papers in this Honorable House. The Tobago House of Assembly's monthly budget report as at the end of April 2017. The Tobago House of Assembly draft estimates, details of recurrent expenditure for the year 2018. The Tobago House of Assembly's draft estimates, details of development program and unemployment relief programs for the year 2018, and the Tobago House of Assembly draft estimates of revenue for the year 2018.
Presentation of reports from the Fiscal Commission. Presentation of reports from Dispute Resolution Commission, select committees, questions to secretaries, request for leave to move the adjournment of the Assembly on definite matters of urgent public importance, statements by secretaries or assistant secretaries, personal explanations, introduction to bills, motions relating to the business of or sitting of the Assembly and moved by a secretary or assistant secretary, public business, executive council business, motion.
Secretary of Finance and the Economy.
Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer, Honorable Chief Secretary, Secretaries, Assistant Secretaries, Minority Leader and other members of the House, Chief Administrator and other administrators, senior staff of the Tobago House of Assembly, distinguished ladies and gentlemen in the public gallery, local and international audiences following this presentation on radio, on television, on the World Wide Web, members of the media, good morning. Today, in my capacity as Secretary for Finance and the Economy, I am honored for the opportunity to present to this august body the draft estimates of revenue and expenditure of the Tobago House of Assembly for fiscal 2018. Although this is my 5th budget presentation, I am just as impassioned today as I was during my first budget presentation in 2013. Today's submission represents the combined efforts of many individuals and groups within the Tobago House of Assembly and the wider Tobago community. And before I proceed with the substantive aspects of my presentation, I would like to express my profound gratitude and appreciation to them all. First of all, I wish to express sincere thanks to the people of Tobago for once again, for the 5th consecutive time, entrusting the management of the island to the capable and caring hands of the People's National Movement. In my capacity as Deputy Chief Secretary, I am convinced that the vote in the last Tobago House of Assembly election represented a vote for integrity as well as for stable, committed, and visionary leadership. I assure the citizenry that we do not take our renewed mandate for granted. We remain dedicated to serving with distinction. Permit me also to express my sincere gratitude and profound appreciation to the Chief Secretary, all secretaries and assistant secretaries, and all staff of the various divisions of the Tobago House of Assembly who tirelessly and selflessly contributed to the development of this presentation. Special commendation is extended to the employees of the Division of Finance and the Economy and the Planning Department in the Office of the Chief Secretary. My appreciation extends as well to the non-governmental and community-based organizations, individuals, and participants in the pre-budget consultations and the Tobago House of Assembly's budget surveys. Their numerous suggestions have helped us to identify some of the focal areas in today's budget. I would like to commend as well all who have worked with me as a team for their expertise and tremendous generosity of spirit in helping to craft today's submission. I would also like to thank my wife and family for their steadfast support at all times. And above all, I thank Almighty God for His continued guidance, grace, and inspiration throughout this entire exercise. Deputy Presiding Officer, today's budget statement is being presented at a very interesting time in our nation and indeed our island's development. It comes at a time when the national economy is in the midst of significant challenges, largely due to depressed hydrocarbon prices. It also comes at a time when major economic adjustments are urgently required. Tobago is not insulated from the negative effects of depressed hydrocarbon hydrocarbon prices, nor are we protected from the economic adjustments that our country requires. We must all do our part and work together to surmount these challenges. I have every confidence that if we do, our island and ultimately our nation will be better off for it in the long run. Deputy Presiding Officer, at this juncture, Tobago is poised to capitalize on a burgeoning future, a point we have arrived at not without struggle or sacrifice. But this is not new to us, for we have always been a people of resilience and perseverance, ready to confront challenges and ready to overcome them. Tobago has a promising future, made possible by the work of several PNM administrations on the island since 2001. It is also a future that is made possible by the enhanced collaboration and partnership between the Tobago House of Assembly and the central government. Building on the foundation of the last 16 years, I can say the island is poised for further development. Critical to this will be the need to foster and unleash the creative energies and innovative potential of our people. And that is why today's budget presentation is aptly themed, unleashing the creative and productive capacity of our people. What is required now is for all of us to put our shoulders to the wheel, work assiduously for the further development of the island. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, this is the only way we can sustain and enhance the standard of living to which we have been accustomed and to achieve greater value for the economic resources we now have. Traditionally, Tobagonians were known to be hardworking, productive, diligent, and patriotic. These are the attributes our island requires at this time. It is noteworthy that some of these qualities were recently demonstrated when the island was affected by Tropical Storm Brett. And I must commend the people of Tobago for their response. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, after 16 years of stellar service from the former Chief Secretary, the management of our island is now entrusted to new leadership. Let me take this opportunity on behalf of all of Tobago to extend a heartfelt thank you to His Excellency Mr. Orville London, High Commissioner to London, for his sterling contribution to this island's development during the last 16 years. His dedication to Tobago and to the country has left an indelible mark on the development of this island and this nation. However, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, the management of the island has been entrusted to new leadership, and we must ensure that we give the Honorable Chief Secretary, Mr. Kelvin Charles, all our support. And I have every confidence that we will continue to thrive under his stewardship. So, Deputy Presiding Officer, following precedent, I will begin the substantive part of today's presentation with a review of the international, regional, and national economic developments. This will be followed by a brief examination of the Assembly's financial and budgetary position over the past year. We will then take stock of our overall development efforts, assessing how far we have traveled along the development trajectory, the opportunities we now have, and the challenges we now face. We will then engage in an extensive analysis of the focal areas of the budget for fiscal 2018. This will be followed by the presentation of the budget numbers for fiscal 2018 and the proposed financing mechanisms. Thereafter, we will conclude today's presentation. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, it is no secret that Trinidad and Tobago is a small open economy which relies heavily on international trade, and it is therefore prudent for us to take note of developments in the global landscape and assess the implications for us in Tobago. As policymakers in Tobago, we also need to be mindful of the developments regionally and nationally, and I will therefore place this year's budget presentation into context by reviewing the international, regional, and national economic environment. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, this latest projection for 2017, the International Monetary Fund revised its original forecast for growth in the global economy upwards from 3.4% to 3.5% and projects growth of 3.6% for 2018. Much of the increase in global growth will come from the emerging economies, most notably China, where there has been a boost in investments after a period of subdued activity. India and other countries in the ASEAN bloc are forecast to grow much faster than the global average. Generally, there's expected to be a revival in manufacturing, and commodity prices are projected to increase further. Higher levels of consumer confidence are also expected to generate greater buoyancy in the equity market. The US economy is projected to grow by 2.3% in 2017 and 2.5% in 2018 as a result of an anticipated boost in business and consumer spending associated with its expansionary monetary stance. The America First policy of the new Trump administration is expected to boost domestic economic activity while preserving American jobs. Growth in the euro area for 2017 is projected at 1.7%, falling marginally to 1.6% in 2018, mainly as a result of positive fiscal spillovers from anticipated growth in the US economy. However, this is moderated somewhat by the uncertainty arising from the Brexit negotiations, as well as elections of new governments in several member countries. The UK and Germany are both projected to grow by 1.5% in 2018. In spite of the prospect for higher growth, one area of concern will be the reemergence of inward-looking policies in the United States and Europe, which could result in greater levels of protectionism and restrictions on trade in goods and investment flows. This could dampen the spread of any stimulus for growth. And for Trinidad and Tobago, this may well mean possible reductions in export revenue as markets are adversely affected, as well as lower access to debt capital and reduced inflows of foreign direct investment. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, at the regional level, economic activity in Latin America and the Caribbean is constrained by weak demand and low commodity prices, but is expected to grow modestly in 2017. Real GDP in this region is projected to grow by 1.6% in 2017. Challenges in Venezuela, Argentina, and Brazil are likely to predominate and become largely responsible for the subdued economic outlook. For the Caribbean region, growth in tourism-dependent economies is projected to increase. Additionally, Guyana will continue its strong growth due to increased gold production And this positive outlook is likely to prevail with the new prospects for petroleum production in the future. Jamaica has also been able to grow with the revival of production in the agricultural sector, supported by tourism and business process outsourcing sectors. The historical tie between the United Kingdom and the Caribbean makes the region vulnerable to risks related to the UK's withdrawal from the European Union. Economic flows from tourism and remittances are likely to be affected, and as such, this development must be closely monitored. So, Deputy Presiding Officer, at the national level, since my last budget presentation to this House, the price of crude oil has fluctuated primarily as a result of the production cuts by OPEC and some non-OPEC countries, notably Russia. The average West Texas intermediate price for crude oil over the last 3 months was just below US $50 per barrel. In respect of natural gas, the Henry Hub price is averaging around US $3 per MMBTU. The Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago, in its economic bulletin for 2017, reported a decline in the petroleum sector for the second half of 2016 by 7.7%, while natural gas production fell by 15.6% over the same period. However, gas production is expected to increase later this year as production commences from the Juniper platform. The non-energy sector experienced mixed fortunes, with manufacturing declining by 4.3%, while financial services and agriculture increased by 0.8% and 0.4% respectively in the third quarter of 2016. Lower prices and lower domestic energy production have weakened our external accounts somewhat. The country's gross official reserves, as at the end of April 2017, was US $9.1 billion, representing about 10 months of import cover. Moreover, citing rising debt ratios, declining oil and gas production, and fiscal consolidation challenges, Moody's downgraded Trinidad and Tobago from Baa3 to Ba1. This followed a similar position taken by Standard & Poor's to adjust Trinidad and Tobago's rating to BBB+ from A- with a stable outlook. The downgrade by both agencies means that the cost of borrowing is now likely to be higher. The challenges of economic growth have also been felt within our labor market. The Central Statistical Office recorded an unemployment rate of 4.1% in the second quarter of 2016, compared with 3.2% in the previous year. Headline inflation was 3.1% in December 2016, while core inflation averaged 2.3%. The excess demand pressures in the foreign exchange market have not abated, and there has been a moderate depreciation of 2.1% in the TT-US dollar exchange rate since last year. The rate currently stands at about TT $6.77 per US dollar. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, having reviewed the international, regional, and national context in which the budgetary proposals are predicated, let me now turn to recent budgetary and financial developments in Tobago for fiscal 2017. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, in the financial year ended 30th September 2016, the Tobago House of Assembly received a total of $2,193,000 $302,717,132 from the Ministry of Finance and the Economy. The sum of $236,056,042 was collected as tax and non-tax revenue in Tobago on behalf of the Consolidated Fund and used to offset the total appropriation, bringing the total parliamentary appropriation to $2,538,773,174, approximately 5% less than in fiscal 2015. Revenues generated independently by the Tobago House of Assembly total $45,972,757, an increase of 66.5% over the amount for fiscal 2015. For fiscal 2016, recurrent and development program expenditure by the Tobago House of Assembly amounted to $2,467,869,118. Of this sum, recurrent expenditure amounted to $1,952,253,861, while development program expenditure amounted to $501,422,318. Overall, the expenditure of the Tobago House of Assembly for fiscal 2016 was approximately 8% less than in fiscal 2015. It is important to note that of the recurrent expenditure incurred in fiscal 2016, the Tobago House of Assembly managed to honor its commitment to workers of the Tobago Regional Health Authority, amounting to $70,164,829 as the first tranche of settling payments of arrears for the period 2011 to 2013. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, under the contingencies expenditure account, unspent balances for the year ended 30th September 2015 amounted to $100,975,230. This was used in fiscal 2016 to finance capital expenditure and other urgent projects and programs in keeping with our mandate to improve the standard of living of all Tobagonians. Some of the major projects and programs undertaken include the Unemployment Relief Program, $47.1 million, the Community-Based Environmental Protection and Enhancement Program, CPEP, $24 million, the Adventure Microenterprise Project, $7 million, and the Tobago House of Assembly's Financial Assistance Program, administered by the Department of Advanced Training and Advisory Services, DATAS, $5 million. For fiscal 2017, the total budgetary allocation to the Tobago House of Assembly amounted to $2,334,000,000, of which $2,045,000,000 was allocated for recurrent expenditure and $289 million was allocated for development program expenditure. The overall budgetary allocation to the Assembly for fiscal 2017 was $415 million, or 15% lower than the allocation to the Assembly in fiscal 2016. So, Deputy Presiding Officer, I now turn to the Assembly's financial reporting systems. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, we continue to enhance and upgrade our accounting systems across all divisions to reduce the processing time for the payments not only of employees but also of our suppliers. At present, all our monthly paid employees, along with 85% of all daily rated employees, have been migrated to the Automated Clearinghouse or ACH system, resulting in more timely payments. The third phase of this initiative is scheduled to commence in August of this year with the onboarding of our suppliers. This will result in the reduction in the settlement time for the payment of goods and services as we strive to achieve international benchmarks. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, the ACH rollout is a part of a larger initiative of the Division of Finance and the Economy to modernize the Assembly's financial architecture. It is expected that there will be considerable reform of the Assembly's financial reporting framework and in the management of public finances in the next financial year, as a more expansive program is being explored with the Inter-American Development Bank to address the larger public financial management framework. This will include budget process reengineering for budget preparation and execution, and the migration to the accrual accounting system as per the International Public Sector Accounting Standards, or IPSAS. Moreover, this program supports the advancement of results-based management by providing measurable indicators in real time. The preliminary work for this has already begun, and a full rollout is expected during the upcoming fiscal year, with this exercise scheduled to be completed by the end of fiscal 2018. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, this administration is committed to transparency and accountability in the conduct of the affairs of the people. We remain resolute in our efforts to modernize the Assembly's financial reporting framework, cognizant that this is a long-term effort requiring extensive resources and expertise. The Deputy Presiding Officer, as this administration under new leadership looks towards the future and seeks to advance Tobago's development, we must do so with a clear understanding of the current state of our development, the strides we have made, the challenges we overcame, and those that now confront us, as well as the opportunities that currently abound and will emerge in the future. Although development can be measured in various ways, by any yardstick, any fair-minded person looking at Tobago's development over the last 16 years or so will undoubtedly conclude that this island has done exceedingly well. All of us, as Tobagonians, should be justifiably proud of what we have been able to achieve together as a people. Please allow me to elaborate on the strides that we have made as it relates to the various dimensions of development, starting with the economic dimension. Madam Presiding Officer, Tobago's gross domestic product, an indicator of the economic health of the island, more than doubled between 2001 and 2016. For the period 2011 to 2016, the island's GDP grew from $1.66 billion at an average annual growth rate of approximately 3% to $1.86 billion. In this regard, the island can now boast of having one of the lowest unemployment levels in the English-speaking Caribbean. The latest data available from the CSO suggests that the rate of unemployment in Tobago, as at the end of the third quarter of 2016, was down from about 13% in 2001 to about 3.3%, which economists would consider to be full employment. The number of persons with jobs in Tobago increased by 10,300 from 21,700 in 2001 to 32,000 as at the end of the third quarter of 2016. Likewise, the latest data available from the central bank now suggests that both headline and food price inflation in Tobago are now down to single-digit levels from double digits a decade earlier. As of the end of February 2017, Tobago recorded headline and food price inflation of 3% and 5% respectively. These rates compare very favorably with annual average rates of 4% and 9% recorded respectively for headline and food price inflation for the island in 2004. And this is the earliest year for which we have inflation data on Tobago. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, I must reiterate that our economic expansion was not accidental. This economic expansion occurred because of the significant investment by this PNM-led administration over the last 16 years to create an enabling environment for the advancement and prosperity for all Tobagonians and citizens resident on the island, as well as our objective to expand and develop a robust private sector and encourage entrepreneurial activity. Through the Enterprise Assistance Loan and Grant Programs of the Business Development Unit, Tobagonians have been given approximately $44 million in financial assistance along with technical support to start, operate, or expand their businesses. The unit also provides support to existing and potential entrepreneurs by funding not only their participation, but also by showcasing and distributing their products in several national, regional, and international trade shows and investment conventions, including the annual Trade and Investment Convention, TIC, in Trinidad, the Caribbean and Central American Action Conference, the Caribbean Fashion Week in Jamaica, the Summer Fancy Food Show in New York, the Toronto Harbourfront Festival in Canada, the Commonwealth Countries League Fair in London, and the annual Havana Trade Fair in Cuba. These opportunities were crafted with the intention of facilitating greater export penetration of Tobago's products in regional and extra-regional markets. Beyond the loan and grant programs, support is provided to encourage entrepreneurship in the island through the work of the Tobago Venture Capital Equity Fund Limited and our ongoing efforts at the work of the Cove Eco Industrial and Business Park. The Venture Capital Equity Fund Limited currently holds a portfolio investment of $4 million in 3 companies within the light manufacturing and the agricultural sectors. As it relates to the Cove Eco Industrial and Business Park, factory space is allocated to entrepreneurs to establish or expand their businesses, and Cove is currently reviewing its rates and incentive programs with a view towards increasing the number of tenants in the park. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, the park currently contains 2 factory shells for larger businesses and 2 multi-producer units for smaller businesses, and approximately 86 persons are currently employed from tenant operations. Madam Presiding Officer, turning to the social dimension of development, I must state that as an island, we have made significant strides. In this regard, let us first look at education, where we have invested significantly at all levels. And today, according to data from the CSO, the proportion of the Tobago labor force with tertiary education is now up from 5% in 2001 to 20% as at the end of the third quarter 2016. Undoubtedly, the Assembly's investment in tertiary education is beginning to bear fruit. On an annual basis, through the Financial Assistance Program administered by the Department of Advanced Training and Advisory Services DATAS in the Office of the Chief Secretary, the Assembly invests approximately $8 million to support Tobago students pursuing tertiary education. Also, students in Tobago now have improved access to tertiary education on the island through institutions such as the University of Trinidad and Tobago, the University of the West Indies, Tobago Open Campus, Cipriani College of Labor and Cooperative Studies, the College of Science, Technology and Applied Arts of Trinidad and Tobago, COSTAT, Roytech, the Arthur Lockjack Graduate School of Business, the University of the Southern Caribbean, and the Tobago Hospitality and Tourism Institute. Our educational infrastructure at the primary and secondary levels in Tobago also compares favorably with the region. With the construction of secondary schools at Goodwood, Speyside, and Mason Hall, and financial support to the Pentecostal Light and Life Foundation High School, there has been a significant increase in the number of available spaces for students sitting the SEA examination. What this means is that all of our SEA students have a guaranteed secondary school place. Additionally, we have a state-of-the-art library facility in Scarborough, which is second to none in the Caribbean region. The Scarborough Public Library is undoubtedly one of the most modern, technologically equipped, and efficient libraries operating in the region. Users can boast of its automated book return, laptop kiosks, and computer training for the elderly. Focusing on health and our safety and our social safety net support, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, since the completion of the Scarborough Hospital, we have significantly expanded the range of health services available to our residents with the introduction of a number of new services, inclusive of corneal transport, corneal transplant, hemodialysis, speech therapy, and cardiology. Also, most of our communities throughout the island are now served by a healthcare facility. The ratio of healthcare facilities to population in Tobago compares very favorably to and exceeds that in neighboring countries. Included among the new health facilities constructed over the last 16 years are the Scarborough, Charlottesville, and Canaan health centers. Additionally, Madam Presiding Officer, we now adequately provide for most of our vulnerable groups in society through a wide range of social safety net programs, including the Program for the Realization of Economic Achievement REACH, the Golden Apple Adolescent Partnership Program, the Child and Family Development Program, the Program for Adolescent Mothers, the Alcohol and Drug Prevention Program, and the various programs of the Women's Economic and Technological Empowerment Center and the Tobago Rehabilitation and Empowerment Center. In respect of housing, over the last 16 years, and notwithstanding our budgetary constraints, the Assembly has invested significantly in making housing opportunities available to Tobagonians through the purchase of a number of large estates, including Corlan, Friendship, and Shervan. In addition, we now provide financial support to enable Tobagonians to improve their homes through numerous programs, inclusive of the Home Improvement Grant Program, the Home Improvement Subsidy, and the Home Completion Program. As the Deputy Presiding Officer, we now turn our attention to the physical dimensions of development. As it relates to roads, we have significantly upgraded and expanded our road network on the island, so much so that our road network in Tobago also compares favorably with those of our Caribbean neighbors. On an annual basis, the Assembly spends approximately $48 million to upgrade primary and secondary roads on the island. Some of the major roads constructed over the tenure of this PNM administration include the Lansomi-Charlotteville Link Road, the Spring Garden Trace, and the Mason Hall Lakertoe Road. We have also invested significantly in building our community and our recreational infrastructure. As a result, many of our communities in Tobago have now been provided with community centers, multi-purpose facilities, and recreational areas, as well as several well-lit playing fields. Many of these communities have also been provided with other modern facilities, such as the 16 IT literacy.
I find it necessary to remind members of Standing Order 49, Part B. A member present in the Assembly during the debate, and Part B says, shall maintain silence while another member is speaking and shall not interrupt except in accordance with these standing orders. Members are so reminded. Continue.
Thank you for your protection, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer. So, Deputy Presiding Officer, however we define development, Tobago has come a long way since our PNM administration took office in 2001. Undoubtedly, the level of development we were able to achieve did not come without its challenges. Please permit me to elaborate on three critical ones. The first is a perennial shortfall in funding from the central government to finance our development program. Historically, the Assembly's development program has been underfunded, and this has significantly compromised the rate and scale of implementation of our development program activities. The second challenge we face in advancing Tobago's development is with respect to the current legislative and constitutional arrangements between the Assembly and the central government. There are significant constraints, for instance, the lack of authority and flexibility to engage in certain financial transactions and to source funding to facilitate our developmental agenda based on our own financial standing. Under the existing legislative arrangements, Tobago's present and potential contributions to the national purse are not clearly defined. These all serve to impede and frustrate Tobago's development, and this is why the issue of greater autonomy for Tobago is paramount to advancing Tobago's development. The third challenge relates to inefficiencies in the inter-island air and sea bridge. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, we know that residents as well as the Tobago business community have been adversely affected by the recent interruptions on the sea bridge. We view the situation as unfortunate and untenable, and we acknowledge it has continued for far too long. The Assembly has been in close and constant discussions with the Minister of Works, and Transport, and the Board of the Port Authority, and I would like to inform this Honorable House that a solution to the current situation is imminent. The Deputy Presiding Officer, notwithstanding these challenges, I have every confidence that as a people, we can work together to surmount these challenges. Each of us has a responsibility to contribute to the development of Tobago. And this is not solely the responsibility of the Tobago House of Assembly. We are at a critical juncture in our development, and what is required is for all of us to put our creative minds to work and be determined to resolve the challenges which now confront us. We cannot default to theatrics an attempt to score 3 political points on important issues regarding our development. Indeed, it will be a travesty if we do not grasp with both hands the opportunity to be an integral part of our island's progress. I believe our children and our children's children will never forgive us. We must therefore harness our creative energies and fully exploit our productive capacity as we strive to further develop our blessed island. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, the budget of the Assembly for fiscal 2018 will focus on several broad thematic areas. And this will ensure that the island's development trajectory continues in a balanced and strategic manner. The budget numbers, which I will present later on, were largely influenced by several sources of information, including the budgetary submissions of the various divisions, the manifesto of the People's National Movement in the last Tobago House of Assembly elections, the Tobago House of Assembly's pre-budget survey for 2017, and the Comprehensive Economic Development Plan for Tobago, CDP 2.0. Accordingly, the budgetary proposals for fiscal 2018 expand on the following thematic areas: building economic resilience, fostering innovation and creativity, supporting our tourism industry, revitalizing our agricultural sector, developing our human capital, providing housing opportunities, enhancing healthcare delivery, fostering and stimulating rural development, the holistic development of young people, preserving our pristine natural environment, and empowering and building communities. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, I will now elaborate on each of these in turn, starting with building economic resilience. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, it is widely accepted that Tobago's economy, similar to the national economy, is dependent on a few economic sectors. The most recent data available from the Survey of Business Establishments conducted by the Division of Finance and the Economy suggests that the services sector is still by and large the most dominant sector in the Tobago economy, amounting for approximately 90% of the island's GDP. It is well established that the services sector is highly vulnerable to the vagaries of the international economic environment, as we saw during the global financial crisis. As such, for Tobago as an island to develop economic resilience on any sustainable basis, economic diversification is imperative. But Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, for diversification to occur, there needs to be meaningful collaboration and partnerships amongst the private sector, workers, and the state. The private sector needs to identify new products and services that have marketable value on a sustainable basis. Workers need to ensure they increase their productivity levels and produce goods and services efficiently. And the state is required to create the enabling environment to allow for the development of these products and services that foster sustained economic prosperity. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, at the core of our strategy for diversification and the development of economic resilience are our activities at the Business Development Unit in the Division of Community Development and the Sector Development Unit in the Division of Finance and the Economy, and our work at the Cove Eco-Industrial and Business Park. To illustrate, over the next fiscal year, the Business Development Unit will seek to expand the current limit of its loans and grant from $250,000 to $500,000 and from $25,000 to $50,000 respectively. In addition, we propose to streamline BDU's processes to reduce the processing time of loan and grant applications. Also, through a special outreach initiative of the BDU, they propose to make their services more accessible to persons in the community, and this will expand, they will expand on as well their training programs in business readiness to prospective and existing business persons. Further, over the next fiscal year, the Strategic Sector Development Unit in the Division of Finance and Economy will conduct research to assess the export readiness of targeted sectors in Tobago, inclusive of garment manufacturing, agro-processing, art and craft, and woodworking. Additionally, the unit will provide training to allow entrepreneurs to capitalize on existing domestic and export opportunities. Let me say, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, that we are heartened by the prospects for a number of sectors, especially agro-processing and beekeeping. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, the Cove Eco-Industrial and Business Park is in the process of finalizing a new strategic plan that will guide the company's approach to business development over the next 5 years. The company has several strategic initiatives aimed at fostering enterprise development in Tobago. These include, but are not limited to, the construction of additional factory space to allow entrepreneurs to establish or expand their business operations. Construction work on a third factory shell should be fully mobilized by the start of 2018, and the fourth factory shell will commence construction before the end of the third quarter in fiscal 2018. Additionally, the construction of a Tier 3 data center at the Cove Park, and this is a joint venture between TSTT and EDCOT. An agreement is expected to be signed shortly. Following the success of a pilot program, EDCOT, in collaboration with Anime Caribbean, will commence the rollout of a comprehensive animation program in Tobago. This will make it possible for Tobagonians to seize existing business opportunities in the field of animation. And finally, a feasibility study for the construction of a commercial cargo port facility in Tobago is scheduled to be completed in the last quarter of 2017. It is envisioned that the construction of port facilities in close proximity to Cove will serve as an incentive to attract new businesses to the industrial park and the island, and also facilitate the importation of raw materials and the export of finished goods. The Deputy Presiding Officer, beyond our work at the Business Development Unit and the Strategic Sector Development Unit and Cove Eco-Industrial and Business Park, we will continue our collaboration with the Tobago private sector as we are mindful of our current position as a key facilitator of economic activity on the island and the urgent need to expand and develop a more resilient private sector. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, we continue to work with the Chamber and other stakeholders in the business community, and we will continue this consultative engagement towards finding workable solutions to some of the challenges in the business community. We will also continue our efforts to provide the necessary support and enabling environment for the growth and development of SMEs and the wider business community. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, let us turn our attention to fostering innovation and creativity. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, as a society, we need to be more creative and innovative. Therefore, we must increase our investment in research and development. In a global environment that is dynamic, our businesses will only develop and maintain competitive advantages in the various industries in which they operate if they engage in continuous innovation. That is, our businesses must continually strive to reinvent themselves and adopt a Kaizen approach to doing business. Research has shown that businesses that engage in innovation to differentiate and create new products and services outperform their competitors. We must not believe that we are too small to engage in meaningful innovation. In this regard, we must rigorously examine and refine our business processes and find new, more efficient and innovative ways of doing business to enable us to be prudent with reduced financial resources. This administration, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, will continue to create the necessary ecosystem to enable innovation to occur in any meaningful way. In this regard, our education system at all levels will be reoriented to create more critical thinkers and innovators with a focus on more creative approaches to problem solving. In addition, because innovations are not always easy to monetize, we will provide both technical and financial support to allow individuals and firms to effectively commercialize their inventions. We will provide the necessary support for innovators to have ready access to agencies such as the Bureau of Standards and Kariri to facilitate product and quality assurance testing. We also propose to engage in meaningful collaboration and partnerships with the private sector and with tertiary institutions to encourage and facilitate innovation. One initiative that is proposed to stimulate creativity and innovation among the island's young adults is an annual Youth Research and Innovation Business Competition. As a Deputy Presiding Officer, also critical to our trust to stimulate innovation over the next fiscal year will be our work at the Tobago Information Technology Limited, or TITL. I'm pleased to announce that in March of this year, construction commenced on TITL's new Innovation Center. Work on the center is expected to be completed by September of this year at a total cost of $6 million. This will allow for an expansion of the ICT training portfolio, international training, certification and testing, the provision of performance improvement and operational efficiency consulting services for businesses seeking integrated functional solutions, the shared space for the development of prototypes and applications with the aim of promoting a technology-driven collaborative community that fosters creativity and productivity. Deputy Presiding Officer, in a previous budget statement in this Honorable House, I outlined the need for Tobago to advance our evolution to a knowledge-based economy, leveraging ICT to advance socio-economic development. Today, I'm pleased to announce that the Division of Finance and the Economy, through the Tobago Information Technology Limited, has concluded a series of very productive consultations with leading global ICT provider Huawei Technologies that will not only support the aforementioned Innovation Center, but will also introduce a comprehensive training program that will provide at least 500 skilled jobs within the next 3 to 5 years in fields such as networking, data storage, and unified communications, as well as other ICT professions. In addition to this, we plan to introduce custom ICT platforms for the agricultural sector to enhance a nascent produce exchange currently operating through the Tobago Agricultural Society, and also for the medium and small properties within the tourism sector to assist with their e-commerce marketing challenges as well as registration and data collection efforts. Further consultation with these stakeholders will be scheduled over the next 3 months to ensure that the final product effectively addresses their needs. I would like to reiterate that these initiatives are part of a larger strategy to develop the island's technological architecture, which will include streamlining government services through a common platform, facilitating increased data-driven decision-making and policy formulation, and as a result, a more efficient and effective planning and a greater ease of doing business in Tobago. This 3-year plan will result in smart institutions, smart communities, and Tobago becoming an intelligent island. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, I now turn my attention to the tourism sector. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, notwithstanding our ongoing efforts to diversify the Tobago economy over the short to medium term, this administration recognizes that the tourism sector will continue to be a major driver of economic activity on the island. We are also aware that the tourism industry is dynamic and highly susceptible to the vagaries of the international economic environment. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, particularly since the occurrence of the global financial crisis in 2008-2009, the industry on the island has had its fair share of challenges, which this administration remains committed to addressing. In this regard, earlier this year, in an effort to achieve greater efficiency and effectiveness in the execution of tourism policy on the island, the Executive Council approved the establishment of a Tobago Tourism Agency. Some of its primary functions include collaborating with tourism stakeholders in the development of Tobago as a premier destination in the Southern Caribbean, designing and implementing suitable and effective marketing strategies for the promotion of the island's tourism product, conducting several relevant and timely research to guide policy formulation in the tourism sector, and the registration and classification of tourism accommodations in accordance with established international benchmarks. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, it is envisioned that this new entity will increase operational efficiency and enhance the execution of tourism policy on the island. A board of directors for this agency will soon be appointed and will be chaired by an eminently qualified Tobagonian lecturer in the tourism management program at the UWI Keyville campus. Additionally, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, as festivals tourism remain a vital component of our island's tourism product, the Executive Council approved the establishment of a task force headed by UWI lecturer Dr. Keith Nurse, an expert in the area of cultural economics. The primary responsibility of this task force is to assess the effectiveness, relevance, and viability of the Tobago Jazz Festival and other tourism-related festivals, and to make recommendations for their growth, development, and sustainability. The task force is expected to report in 3 months, and this report will guide the Assembly's approach to funding festivals in the next fiscal year and beyond. The Deputy Presiding Officer, there are several other strategic initiatives planned by the Assembly to assist in revitalizing the tourism sector on the island. Over the next fiscal year, these initiatives include the strengthening of the institutional capacity of the research department at the tourism division to conduct relevant research and provide timely and reliable data and statistics to guide policy formulation in the tourism sector on the island. collaboration with Caribbean Airlines Limited to reduce the gap between demand and supply for seats on the domestic air bridge, especially at peak periods. The introduction of new product offerings and experiences, such as canopy tours at the Main Ridge Forest Reserve, the Scarborough Heritage Trail project, and the further development of 4th King George. Additionally, encouraging and promoting tourism, community-based tourism throughout Tobago, the enhancement of the marketing program under the Tourism Rolling Plan at an estimated cost of $100 million, assistance to small properties in the tourism industry at a cost of $15 million, the provision of relevant and quality training through the Tobago Hospitality and Tourism Institute to prepare Tobagonians to effectively exploit all existing and emerging jobs in the tourism industry on the island and to improve the quality of service delivery to visitors and locals alike. Additionally, the establishment of greater synergies and linkages between the tourism industry and our cultural industry, thereby effectively monetizing our culture. And the revision of our tourism investment strategy with a view towards attracting recognized brands, thereby reducing the room stock gap on the island. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, we propose to adopt a more proactive approach as we prepare our tourism and related sectors to fully exploit all the potential benefits and opportunities that a Sandals resort can offer Tobago. The Sandals project could undoubtedly be a game changer for Tobago. Mr. Presiding Officer, let me repeat that again to the Deputy Presiding Officer. The Sandals project could undoubtedly be a game changer for Tobago. This project will assist in addressing 3 critical problems affecting our tourism sector: airlift, a shortage of high-quality rooms, and the marketing of Destination Tobago. So, Presiding Officer, Deputy, I seek your protection. This project will assist in addressing 3 critical problems affecting our tourism sector: airlift, a shortage of high-quality rooms, and the marketing of Destination Tobago. As a result, the Assembly will continue to work with our partners in central government to ensure that Tobago derives optimum benefit from this project while giving due consideration to all the environmental, economic, and social concerns. What is therefore required is that each Tobagonian must be prepared to take advantage of all the prospects available through the Sandals arrangement. Our training programs, particularly at the Tobago Hospitality and Tourism Institute, will be adjusted to revive our tradition of service excellence and guide our young people to some of the opportunities of this project. Our farmers and fisher folk must begin to prepare and align themselves in such a way that they also will maximize these opportunities. The Deputy Presiding Officer, this administration will continue to do our part in preparing Tobago and Tobagonians to maximize these opportunities. So, Presiding Officer, so Deputy Presiding Officer, I now turn my attention to the agricultural sector. This administration is mindful of the role the agricultural sector can play in generating economic activity, job creation, reducing food price inflation, as well as reducing our dependence on external sources for basic food items and improving food security. Earlier this year, the Executive Council approved the establishment of an agricultural revitalization team that will work with the Secretary of Food Production, Forestry and Fisheries to formulate an agricultural revitalization plan to position the agricultural sector as a major driver of sustained economic activity. This plan will guide public and private sector efforts in addressing the major developmental challenges facing the sector. Over the next fiscal year, the Division of Food Production, Forestry and Fisheries proposes several initiatives to reposition agriculture as a key driver of economic growth on the island. One of the major initiatives proposed by the division is the development of an agro park at the Friendship Estate at an estimated cost of $10 million. It is proposed that this park will serve as a model farm, allowing for intensive commercial production of select vegetables and root crops, as well as the introduction of modern agricultural practices and appropriate innovative technologies. It is envisioned that the new agro park will employ modern technology to enable the benefits associated with economies of scale to be fully exploited. The park will also serve as a center for research and training and capacity building for farmers, and also assist farmers in modernizing their farming practices and facilitate greater private sector involvement in the agricultural sector. Another major initiative of the Division of Food Production, Forestry and Fisheries in the upcoming fiscal year is a program of cocoa rehabilitation. We are cognizant of the fact that fine-flavored cocoa is in high demand and fetches premium prices on the international market. We are also mindful of the historical importance of cocoa to the Tobago economy. And therefore, the division proposes to utilize agricultural lands to develop an effective value chain in cocoa and chocolate production. In this regard, the division will collaborate with the UWI Cocoa Research Center to leverage their technical expertise in areas of research and product development. The Deputy Presiding Officer, to increase food production on the island, we will expand and intensify the Agricultural Access Roads program. This will open up more lands for agriculture and other developments. Concerted efforts will be made to link agriculture with the school feeding program, and seed funding will be provided to encourage more persons to be involved in agriculture. In addition to these initiatives, Madam Presiding Officer, capacity enhancement training and business readiness programs will be introduced in the next fiscal year to prepare farmers and agro-processors for the opportunities that will emerge from investment in the tourism sector with the construction of the Sandals Resort and other international brands. Madam Deputy Presiding Officer, other initiatives of the Division of Food Production, Forestry and Fisheries to boost agricultural production on the island over the next fiscal year include encouraging and facilitating greater synergies between the agricultural sector and other sectors of the economy, such as tourism and the health sector, enhancing the capacity of the propagation and demonstration stations and the tissue culture facility to increase the availability of planting material to the public. Targeted crops include citrus and other tree crops, plantains, bananas, and dashi. Additionally, expanding the Hope Farm Genetics Center, which will focus on artificial insemination and on conserving and improving the genetic resources of our livestock. Also facilitating youth involvement in agriculture through improved access to capacity enhancement training and a revision of the Youth Apprenticeship Program in Agriculture, or YAPA. And finally, ensuring that small family farmers are exposed to modern agricultural practices and technologies such as hydroponics and aquaponics. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, I now turn to human capital development, focusing on education. Human capital development is central to the developmental strategy of this administration. In this regard, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, the Division of Education is currently in the process of developing strategies to improve the quality of education at all levels in Tobago. We are committed to a strategic, progressive developmental plan that begins with the establishment of a dynamic early childhood care and education unit. This unit will be tasked with providing broad-based learning and ensuring a nurturing and stimulating environment at this level. During the next fiscal year, the Division of Education, in collaboration with the Inter-American Development Bank, IADB, will begin construction on 5 early childhood centers in Roxborough, Corland, Adventia, Bon Accord, and Belgarden. During the construction phase, there will be extensive training for parents, teachers, and other stakeholders to ensure a seamless transition into these new schools. Greater focus will also be placed on improving the infrastructure at primary schools throughout the island. In this regard, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, I'm pleased to announce that the Scarborough ROC School is scheduled for completion by September 2018. The project manager has given us the assurance that construction is proceeding within time and within budget. In addition, improvement works and upgrades are proposed for primary schools in urgent need of repairs. The Deputy Presiding Officer, this administration is determined to cater extensively to the requirements of students with special needs. Our 2 special needs schools, the Tobago School for the Deaf, Speech, and Language Impaired, and the Happy Haven School, will be upgraded and expanded to provide easier accessibility and comfort to students with disabilities. It is our intention to build a school for the deaf at Signal Hill with the support from the Caribbean Development Bank. The Deputy Presiding Officer, this administration plans to expand the availability of tertiary education on the island. We will continue to provide financial assistance to Tobagonians to pursue tertiary level studies through the Financial Assistance Program administered by the Department of Advanced Training and Advisory Services DATAS in the Office of the Chief Secretary at an estimated cost of $8 million. Our programs at the Tobago Hospitality and Tourism Institute will be a part of a broader strategy of expanding tertiary education on the island. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, please permit me now to turn to housing. We are aware that the acquisition of a home may be the largest single investment an individual may make in his or her lifetime. We also know that with the current price of real estate in Tobago, not all Tobagonians can afford to purchase a home on the private market or to construct a new home. Therefore, to address this market failure, intervention by the Tobago House of Assembly is necessary. Although the PNM administration in Tobago has invested significantly in the provision of housing for Tobagonians in the past, our housing program continues to be stymied by funding constraints. As a result, there is a significant gap between the supply and demand for public housing. At present, there are over 7,500 applicants listed on the Assembly's database. In an attempt to address this, we continue to collaborate with the private sector in devising novel arrangements for the provision of affordable housing. Madam Presiding Officer, sorry, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, my apologies. Let me slow down a little bit. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, we are reviewing potential public-private partnership proposals, and we will continue to work with our multilateral partners and other stakeholders to develop innovative solutions to our housing needs in Tobago. In addition, The Division of Settlements will continue to assist Tobagonians who own lands and are seeking to build homes through the Beneficiary Owned Land Program and the Home Completion Program. The division will also continue to support existing homeowners through the Home Improvement Grant and the Home Construction Subsidy. Additionally, the Division of Settlements will collaborate with the Division of Community Development and Labor in making application forms available at the community centers where persons can apply for the various home improvement grants in a hassle-free manner. The Deputy Presiding Officer, related to the issue of housing is the long-standing issue of land titles in Tobago. It is no secret that many Tobagonians are in possession of lands without proper title. This has affected their ability to leverage the equity in their real estate in order to gain access to financing from lending institutions. When the last PNM central government demitted office in 2010, bills had been prepared and were ready to be taken to Parliament to address the issues of land titles in Tobago. Excuse me. Under the UNC-led administration, nothing significant was done to advance this issue. Our commitment to the people of Tobago is to work with the PNM-led central government as a matter of urgency to ensure successful passage of the legislation to settle this issue. In this regard, I'm pleased to announce that this PNM-led central government has completed and tabled a draft bill that is on the order paper for debate in Parliament. Turning to the issue of healthcare delivery, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, we are cognizant of the fact that there is a relationship between the quality of healthcare we as citizens enjoy and our overall standard of living and quality of life. We also understand that there's a relationship between the status of our health and the overall level of productivity of our society. As an assembly, we have invested significantly over the last 16 years to improve our health infrastructure on the island, so much so that our primary and secondary healthcare facilities compare very favorably to international benchmarks. Building on our relatively sound health infrastructure, what is now required is that we continue to improve and expand the quality of our health services. We recognize as well that there's a growing problem of non-communicable diseases such as heart disease, diabetes, stroke, and hypertension, not only in Tobago, but nationally. We also know that non-communicable diseases share common risk factors such as unhealthy diets, tobacco and alcohol use, obesity, and physical inactivity. As an administration, we are therefore intensifying ongoing efforts to reduce the incidence of these diseases in Tobago. The Deputy Presiding Officer, additionally, we are mindful of the growing prevalence of cancer among Tobagonians, and we are also mindful that cancer is one of the leading causes of death on the island. To continue the fight against cancer on the island, only recently, the Executive Council approved the establishment of a palliative care facility that will provide specialized medical care for victims of cancer and other serious illnesses. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, to ensure persons in the community have greater access to our health centers and to ensure the effective decentralization of health services to the communities, we will redouble our efforts and implement extended opening hours of health care centers across the island. The Deputy Presiding Officer, we will now examine our efforts to stimulate development on the island. As an administration, we recognize for development to be sustainable, it must take place in a holistic and balanced manner. We also recognize that development in northern and eastern areas of Tobago has not kept pace with the rest of the island, and this is something we propose to address in a more strategic manner. In this regard, we propose to establish a unit in the Office of the Chief Secretary with primary responsibility to develop and implement an integrated development action plan to promote a more coordinated and sustainable approach to the development in these areas. This action plan is predicated on 5 thematic pillars: supporting sustainable communities, supporting enterprise and development, maximizing ecotourism, fostering culture and creativity, and improving infrastructure and connectivity. Its key objectives include, but are not limited to, the creation of new jobs in the eastern and northern areas of Tobago by supporting the establishment of cottage-type industries and other light manufacturing industries, the provision of enhanced support to stimulate the agricultural, fishing, and tourism sectors, the decentralization of government services, the enhancement of the public transport system, the implementation of targeted disaster mitigation and management plans, giving due consideration to the unique challenges in these areas, and the provision of improved telecommunication and ICT coverage. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, we now turn our efforts to ensure the holistic development of our young adults. This administration understands that Tobago's young adults are our greatest assets. We also understand that sustainable development requires young people to play a critical role in our development. We are therefore committed to improving their lives by providing support for their overall development and providing opportunities to prepare them for their role in developing Tobago. Through the recently created Division of Sport and Youth Affairs, there are a number of initiatives, all geared towards the holistic development of Tobago's young adults. This division has as its mandate the empowerment of young adults through programs that will allow them to become a part of the island's development process. Over the next few years, driven by its strategic plan, themed Youth Empowerment Strategy of Tobago, the division will promote the empowerment of young people in Tobago by facilitating their active participation in Tobago's developmental agenda, supporting their involvement in entrepreneurial activities, building the capacity of youth development organizations on the island to design, implement, manage, and monitor youth development programs, by providing financial, technical, and other assistance to youth organizations in the implementation of their strategic objectives, providing capacity building and professional development training to assist young people in making the adjustment to the world of work, fostering and supporting youth programs within communities to promote family development and the adoption of healthy lifestyles, and facilitating the involvement of young people in sporting and other recreational activities. The Deputy Presiding Officer, beyond our work in the Division of Sport and Youth Affairs, there are a number of other initiatives across the Assembly which target the development of Tobago's young adults. For example, through the Youth Energized for Success, or YES program in the Division of Finance and the Economy, the Assembly will continue to provide programs and initiatives that foster employment readiness among our island's youth. These programs include life skills, resume writing and interview skills, professional development workshops, the youth entrepreneurship, and the summer internship programs. In addition, through the Financial Literacy Secretariat in the Division of Finance and the Economy, there are a number of programs all geared towards assisting young people in making informed financial decisions. These programs include the Junior Savings Program, Financial Fitness, and the Tobago Money Matters. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, I will now turn my attention to the environment. The Assembly's budget for fiscal 2018 also places great focus on the issue of environmental sustainability. The Deputy Presiding Officer, even as we strive to stimulate economic and social development on the island, we must be mindful that we cannot do so at the expense of our pristine environment. We must continue to hold fast to the tenets of the CDP, and that is keeping Tobago clean, green, safe, and serene. It is therefore important that we all recognize that the continued prosperity of Tobago's economy and society depends on the integrity of the environment. Our island is blessed with tremendous natural beauty, and we must preserve this. We must all act as custodians of Tobago's pristine beauty, its fertile land, its freshwater and marine resources, its flora and fauna, and share in the commitment to protect these resources for future generations. Over the next fiscal year, the Assembly proposes to intensify existing efforts aimed at ensuring that Tobago's development proceeds in a sustainable manner. Among these initiatives are the implementation of an effective coastal zone management program to treat with the growing problem of coastal erosion, the design and implementation of a more effective solid waste management system that preserves water quality as well as marine life and activities, the improved collaboration with NGOs, CBOs, and other groups in society on environmentally sustainable programs, the enhanced collaboration with local, regional, and international research institutions in the production of timely, reliable, and accurate data that can shape policy regarding Tobago's environmental resources, and the phasing out of styrofoam use and its replacement with suitable alternatives. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, we now look at our initiatives towards the empowerment and building of communities. The Deputy Presiding Officer, sustainable development requires communities to be at the focal point to ensure their effective participation in the development process. For this to occur, communities must be truly empowered. It was just recently that the Executive Council approved the establishment of the Community Consultative Planning Unit in the Division of Community Development, Enterprise Development and Labor, with a primary mandate to bring the Assembly's services even closer to the people, and to foster an improved relationship between the Assembly and the community. This unit has at its core objectives the engagement of community stakeholders to actively participate in the development of their communities, the development of a framework to ensure a more customer-centric approach to service delivery in communities, and the establishment of indicators to measure development within communities. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, over the next year, led by the Community Consultative Planning Unit, greater emphasis will be placed on strengthening partnerships with key stakeholders in communities, such as village councils, NGOs, FBOs, and CBOs, to enhance the delivery of government services to the people of Tobago and to foster the development and empowerment of communities. In addition, greater attention will be placed on promoting entrepreneurship and building self-reliance at the community level. Also, through the vocational training program, This administration will continue to provide capacity building training to persons in the community. Over the next few months, 18 training programs are scheduled to be conducted in 13 community centers throughout Tobago. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, beyond the capacity building programs, there are a number of novel community programs which will continue and in some cases be expanded. These include the Integrated Literacy Program, the I Am Woman Program, the Reap What You Sow Program, the Night Market Program, and the Pride of Tobago Project. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, beyond these community empowerment programs, work will continue on the upgrade of existing community facilities. As a result, in the upcoming fiscal year, repair and upgrade works are scheduled for various community centers throughout the island, including Calder Hall, Palatuvier, Glamorgan, John Dyer, Betsy Soap, Mount Grace, Charlotteville, Delaford, and Mount Pleasant. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, the foregoing are the broad thematic areas which a fiscal package of the Assembly for 2018 will address. I remain eternally grateful for the many individuals, organizations, and groups who assisted me in shaping the budgetary proposals of the Assembly. Looking ahead, as the life of the CDP 2.0 comes to an end later this year, there's a need to develop a new planning framework for Tobago to guide the island's development in the medium term. The new framework should be developed with a clear understanding of the progress we have made in implementing the CDP, the challenges we face, and the new opportunities that will emerge for the island. We must also be cognizant of the fact that whatever we do will impact future generations. As we build on the solid foundation of successive PNM administrations over the last 16 years, the island is poised for much greater economic activity. And we must leverage all the creative and productive energies of our people in all our developmental initiatives. And that is why our budget for fiscal 2018 is appropriately themed, unleashing the creative and productive capacity of our people. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, I now present the expenditure estimates for 2018, starting the recurrent estimates. The recurrent estimates for fiscal 2018 totals $3.2 billion. This is disaggregated as follows. Personal expenditure, $858.3 million. Goods and services, $1.2 billion. Minor equipment purchases, $127.2 million. And transfers and subsidies, $1.05 billion. This represents a reduction of just under $22 million from last year's request. Distributed across divisions, the recurrent estimates for fiscal 2018 are Assembly Legislature, $28 million. Office of the Chief Secretary, $227.5 million. Finance and the Economy, $184 million. Tourism, Culture and Transportation, $355.4 million. Education, Innovation and Energy, $498.1 million. Community Development, Enterprise Development and Labor, $110.9 million. Infrastructure, Quarries and the Environment, $539.5 million. Food Production, Forestry and Fisheries, $324.9 million. Health, Wellness and Family Development, $794.1 million. Settlements, urban renewal, and public utilities, $35.3 million. And sport and youth affairs, $99.8 million. Madam Presiding Officer, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, included among the highlights of the proposed recurrent expenditure for fiscal 2018 are Youth Development Program, $3 million, the School Feeding Program, $50 million, the Agricultural Incentive Program, $4 million, Information Technology Center, $20 million, the Studley Park Enterprise Limited, $26 million, and assistance to sport tourism organizations, $2.6 million. The Deputy Presiding Officer, I now turn my attention to the development program estimates. The estimates for the development program for fiscal 2018 amount to $1.71 billion, a decrease of $330.6 million from the fiscal 2017 request to the central government. The development program estimates are disaggregated as follows. Pre-investment, $5 million. Productive sectors, $20 million. Economic infrastructure, $738 million. Social infrastructure, $652 million. And multi-sectoral and other services, $294 million. To assist in our program of economic diversification and the development and expansion of the private sector on the island, our development program estimates provide support for the Enterprise Development Company of Tobago, EITCOT, $85.4 million. The Scarborough Esplanade Phase 2 project, $15 million. Enterprise Development, $8 million. The Enterprise Development Grant Program, $9 million. The Business Incubator Program, $6 million. And the Venture Capital Equity Fund Limited, $2 million. Excuse me. So, Deputy Presiding Officer, even as we seek to diversify the Tobago economy, we recognize that the tourism sector will remain one of the primary drivers of economic growth on the island for the next few years. As such, the development program estimates caters for Phase 3 of the 4th King George Heritage Park project at a cost of $6.1 million. The upgrade of Sanctuary Resort, $50 million. Infrastructural works at Pigeon Point, $9.1 million. Upgrade works at Manta Lodge, $8.3 million. Construction of beach facilities at Englishman's Bay, $2 million. Construction of cruise ship berths, $2 million. The revitalization of the agricultural sector remains a critical priority for this administration. As such, our development program estimate caters for the establishment of farmers' markets at Goldsboro and Blackrock at a cost of $3.5 million. The development of an agro park at the Friendship Estate at a cost of $10 million. An expanded agricultural access roads program at a cost of $80 million. The improvement to the Roxborough Market and Abattoir at a cost of $10 million. The improvement to beaches and landing facilities, $10 million. And the improvement to the Buku Reef Marine Park, management and ecological monitoring, $2.5 million. The Deputy Presiding Officer, support for education is also a primary focus of this administration. Our development program estimates make provision for the support of educational programs and improvement of facilities. We have therefore budgeted for improvements to primary schools, $26.7 million. The upgrade to Happy Haven School, $10 million. The construction of the school for the deaf, $10.5 million. The upgrade of the Roxborough Trade Center, $2 million. A program for the computerization of primary schools, $10 million, and the upgrade of the Roxborough Library, $11.5 million. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, provisions are also made for accelerating the public housing program of the Assembly and increasing the housing stock on the island. Accordingly, our development program estimates provide for land development at Colon Estate, $26.8 million. Land development at Sherburne Road, $18 million. The development of Adventure Phase 2, $11.3 million. And land development at the Adelphi Estate, $15.8 million. Additionally, we'll continue to upgrade and expand our road infrastructure. As such, our development program estimates provide for major improvement works on secondary roads, $55 million. The Roxborough Body Bay Road and construction of a retaining wall, $7.5 million. Improvement to Milford Road bridges, $30 million. A road resurfacing program of $30 million. Rehabilitation of the Claude Noel Highway, $12 million. Improvement work along the Plymouth-Arnosville Road, $15 million. Construction of the Milford Road bypass to Smithfield, $15 million. The Milford Road upgrade works, $10 million. Improvements to the Northside Road, $12.5 million. And improvement work to the Orange Hill Road, $6 million. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, the development program estimates provide a snapshot of the many initiatives of the Assembly to propel Tobago's development. Our investments seek to impact all sectors of the economy. The development program estimates, while audacious, are not unreasonable and are geared towards quality delivery to the people of Tobago. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, I wish to include as well in the estimates for fiscal 2018 provisions for URP and CPEP totaling $77.2 million and $54 million, respectively. The Deputy Presiding Officer, in addition to the expenditure items which I alluded to earlier, this administration expects that, consistent with the provision of the 6th schedule, the Tobago House of Assembly Act 40 of 1996, that there will be other items of expenditure funded by the central government and other ministries and state agencies in Tobago. Accordingly, we anticipate that with the improved collaboration between the central government and the Assembly, this expenditure will be quite substantial to support our shared vision of economic diversification, with Tobago as the focal point for investment in the tourism sector. In this regard, projects to be funded by these off-budget expenditure items include the construction of the new terminal at the A&R Robinson International Airport, the construction of the Old Grange and Roxborough police stations, the construction of a desalinization plant at Cove, and the expansion of the power generation capacity at the Cove Eco-Industrial Complex. The Deputy Presiding Officer, permit me to address the financing of the expenditure estimates for fiscal 2018. The fiscal package of the Assembly for 2018 will be financed from various sources. The primary source will be transfers from the central government in accordance with their statutory responsibilities under the Tobago House of Assembly Act 40 of 1996. The allocations to the Tobago House of Assembly are usually offset against the revenue collected in Tobago on behalf of the central government and is retained in accordance with sections 49(3) of the THA Act 40 of 1996. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, for fiscal 2018, the estimates of revenue, both tax and non-tax, are as follows. Tax on income and profits, $141.6 million. Taxes on property, $0.5 million. Taxes on goods and services, $73.9 million. Taxes on international trade, $4 million. Other taxes, $5.2 million, bringing total tax revenue to $225.2 million. Property income taxes, $0.1 million. Other non-tax revenue, $1.2 million, bringing total non-tax revenue to $1.3 million, and the overall total revenue for fiscal 2018 is projected at $226.5 million. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, we have explored other plausible options involving multilateral assistance and support to advance the island's development, some of which I will now discuss in detail. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, over the past fiscal year, we have increased the level of collaboration with many of our multilateral partners and those in the local financial services sector, as we sought to leverage their expertise to improve operational efficiency and to position ourselves to access additional technical and financial resources. This has been a key area as the Assembly realigns itself for greater effectiveness in the management of fiscal resources and risks emanating from new endeavors and refined processes. Through these partnerships, the Division of Finance and Economy intends to adopt a suite of standardized assessment tools to strengthen the execution and appraisal basis of our activities. And these include the Public-Private Partnership Fiscal Risk Assessment Model and the Public Investment Management Assessment. These tools will allow us a deeper understanding of various aspects of our fiscal position and institutional frameworks. They also will assist in identifying priorities for reform and technical assistance. Moreover, they support the advancement of results-based management by providing measurable indicators to monitor and evaluate progress. The International Monetary Fund, through the Caribbean Regional Technical Assistance Center, CARTAC, has accommodated a number of delegates from the Assembly in capacity building exercises in some of these areas, with further assistance to follow over the next fiscal period. The Assembly has also sought immediate hands-on technical and financial support to assist us in achieving our medium-term physical and social infrastructure goals. To this end, with the support of the Ministries of Finance and Economy and Planning and Development, we have begun discussions with the IADB and the World Bank and the Caribbean Development Bank on a medium-term infrastructure investment strategy and project pipeline for Tobago with 3 viable pilot projects. This will be a comprehensive strategy to encourage innovative proposals aligned with Tobago's infrastructure priorities and which meet identified societal needs. It will feature a transparent and detailed procurement process for both publicly initiated and unsolicited proposals, so as to avoid parallel procurement tracks and also to discourage the development and submission of unfeasible proposals, ultimately ensuring better use of our limited public sector resources. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, this Assembly has been working with the local financial community to review our options for alternative financing mechanisms for capital expenditure. Feedback from the market thus far on our ability to raise funding as a standalone entity has been positive, and with the necessary approvals, we can undoubtedly finance several of our larger projects through alternative funding mechanisms. We intend to pursue this, mindful of our fiduciary responsibility to the citizens of Tobago to be prudent with our resources and to manage our debt profile while still delivering on our developmental goals. In addition to these initiatives by the Division of Finance and the Economy, the IADB, through the Ministry of Planning and Development, and together with the Division of Education, has approved a new education advancement program that will commence with the construction of 5 early childhood care and education centers for Tobago at a value of over $60 million. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, you may recall that under the previous central government, these 5 centers had twice been excluded from implementation in April 2013 and May 2015, despite previously securing approval and having satisfied the listed requirements of the IADB. However, in the renewed spirit of respect and cooperation with this new central government, these projects have been prioritized in the new funding facility. In addition to the physical infrastructure, this initiative also seeks to measure the quality of the cognitive and social-emotional development of children at these centers, and we will utilize these assessments to inform both remedial and policy directions. The Deputy Presiding Officer, we have leveraged our partners to improve evidence-based decision-making as an assembly. And this is a theme that will run throughout the next fiscal year as we work with our central government counterparts on a more inclusive strategic rollout of our development plans. The Ministry of Planning and Development has played a key role in this, and recently, together with the Caribbean Development Bank, has held a series of consultations with the Tobago House of Assembly to identify specific projects for implementation support in the 2016 to 2020 Country Strategic Plan. It is noteworthy that Tobago had a significant input in shaping Trinidad and Tobago's overall country strategy. So, Deputy Presiding Officer, as an assembly, this administration is committed to utilizing all our resources and those of our external partners to ensure we achieve the projects and program activities previously outlined. We are well aware of our technical and financial constraints. We believe that there is much that can be learned and gained from working together, and we will continue to do so for the mutual benefit of all involved. The Deputy Presiding Officer, as we conclude today's budget presentation, I wish to reiterate that notwithstanding the current economic challenges, the future of Tobago is promising. Building on the foundation established over the last 16 years, I can say without the fear of contradiction that this island is poised for greater economic activity. As we seek to address our current and emerging challenges, our success will depend on reasoned collaboration, mutual trust, and reliance on our sense of patriotism. The people of Tobago gave this administration a renewed mandate at the 2017 polls and have entrusted the management of this island to us for the next 4 years. And they will be observing our conduct both inside this house and in our public, professional, and personal lives. We must be mindful of this. We must also make a conscious effort to harness our creativity towards maximizing our productive capacity in furtherance of our development. The Deputy Presiding Officer, let us therefore leverage and take full advantage of the new environment of mutual respect, collaboration, and partnership that now characterizes the relationship between the Tobago House of Assembly and the central government. This will redound to our ultimate benefit. There are a number of critical projects in the developmental pipeline, inclusive of the Sandals Resort, the new airport terminal at Crown Point, and a desalination and power plant at the Cove Eco-Industrial and Business Park. We must therefore ensure that these projects are delivered to the people of Tobago. We must also ensure that we find a permanent and sustainable solution to our problems on the air and sea bridge, and that we solve as well our long-standing problems with regards to land titles in Tobago, and that once and for all, we bring to fruition the issue of self-government for the people of Tobago. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, this has been an auspicious morning. On behalf of the Chief Secretary, all Secretaries and Assistant Secretaries of the Tobago House of Assembly, I thank our audience within the chamber and the people listening for your time and attention. May God continue to bless you all, and may God continue to bless the people of Tobago and the island and Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. I beg to move.
The question is, be it resolved that this House approve the draft estimates of revenue and expenditure respecting all functions of the Tobago House of Assembly for the financial year October 1st, 2017 to September 30th, 2018, copies of which were laid on the table at an earlier stage of the proceedings. Leader of Assembly Business.
Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer. I beg to move that this House now stand adjourned to Tuesday the 26th at 10 a.m.
Members, the question is that this House do stand adjourned to Tuesday the 26th of June 2017 at 10 a.m.
27th. Apologies. 27th.
Tuesday the 27th, sorry, at 10 a.m. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against? Nay. The ayes have it. This House is now adjourned to next week, Tuesday the 27th of June at 10 a.m.
in the memories of men and women who served in the Assembly. They hold the key to unlocking some of the knowledge surrounding Tobago's legislative history. The Assembly Legislature Secretariat is an apolitical division that oversees the plenary sitting on the fourth Thursday of each month, where the public can view debates on Tobago's affairs. But Tobago's legislative authority did not begin with the current Tobago House of Assembly. The first formation of the legislative representation was in 1768 at the island's former capital, George